Have you ever thought about the ultimate movie combination that just seems too good to be true? Like, take a story that a lot of people or everybody would know about, and you get that one director that you are sure that would go out and make possibly the best film adaptation of that story. Well, believe it or not, there was actually one moment that we were so close to getting one. Of course, everyone knows the story of Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, but when Disney announced that not only they will be making a big-budget live-action adaptation of the book, but also that Tim Burton would be directing it, people were hyped to the max! Imagine the beautiful mix of Carroll's story of a nonsensical world through the eyes of a little girl, and Burton's twisted imagination and art style that have immortalized some of his most beloved films. This would not just make the best Alice in Wonderland film, but possibly the perfect adaptation where no one else could ever outshine something that holds the title of Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. But that's not what we got now, was it? Instead of getting what we'd expect with that title, we just got this dumb and dull sequel to the books where Alice is of legal age and finds herself in a place that might as well be called underwear, and she's apparently the chosen one to kill the Jabberwocky. So with the help of the air-headed White Queen and Johnny Depp being Johnny Depp, Alice will stop the Red Queen's tyranny, fight the Jabberwocky in the most anticlimactic way possible, and finish it off with a stupid dance. However, in its defense, there are some notably good things that came out of it. The performances of some actors like Helena Bonham Carter and Stephen Fry are great, and it does offer some stunning visuals. It's not the worst thing based on Lewis Carroll's beloved books, but this one ends up being rather boring and stupid. The one thing that nobody can deny about this film is that it went on to become such a massive success at the box office. Seriously, with a title like Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, it went on to gross more than $1 billion, and is also the reason why we are seeing this big trend by Disney to have their live-action reboots based on their animated classics. And yes, by the way, technically this one would count as well, considering that they did make the adaptation back in 1951, you know, the animated one. But anyways, with all that said, there shouldn't be any big surprise that Disney would actually want to make a sequel where we see all the characters come back in another big adventure in Underland. Oh, good God. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm just gonna call it Underwear because you know when it's a big problem that Underland just doesn't feel right to say, and Underwear feels a lot more suited. Like, that's a major problem. But anyways, get ready guys, because you're gonna go down the rabbit hole and enter into madness. And one more thing, I'm not talking about the movie. When you look into the looking glass, only 3 words will stand out. What a mess. The movie has so many different ideas it wants to achieve, but it all comes out in an unorganized manner that makes it near impossible to follow. It could swap plot points faster than time would be able to react. It could go from Alice losing her ship, then she wants to make the Mad Hatter happy, which, by the way, is the whole point of the movie. Then all things from the book are dropped to go into this clock world. Then it turns into a time-traveling movie. Then it becomes some sort of prequel. You see what I'm dealing with here? It's so easy to get lost while it tries to juggle all these plot elements at once and bring in new ones that don't even have a single point. Even Free Birds did a better job to tell a time-traveling story that's easy to follow. Seriously, the movie even starts out with a scene that's supposed to be in the next Pirates of the Caribbean film, and has this pointless side plot that just wants to push this random feminist message of, "Oh, girls can't be sea captains." The only credit I will give the story is that it can sometimes be unpredictable. Not because the writing is well crafted, far from it. It's just that I'm still trying to figure out which of the dozens of plot points does this scene connect to. Of course, like the last film, it barely has anything to do with the book it took its title from. At the most, you'll only find references to some characters that don't even do anything. Like, here's what you'll find that's taken from the book.
One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small.
Now, following the story was a seriously tough task. Seriously, it even took me a while to let it simmer in my head to understand what I even watched in the first place. But admittedly, part of the reason why it was really hard to follow was because I actually had little motivation to even try to understand what was going on. And the problem here is not really because of the story itself, but it's mostly the characters that I don't really care about. For some strange reason, the movie feels like what made the first film a massive success is because everyone loved the characters, and the sequel should prominently feature them more. Okay, I do like the Cheshire Cat and the Red Queen, but the rest pretty much suck. And what's even worse is that the movie gave these guys a massive downgrade. Any recurring character that is not Alice, the Mad Hatter, or the Red or White Queen are just there contributing absolutely nothing, but be there since this is a sequel, and tell Alice her mission to time travel to stop the Hatter from being down in the dumps. But if I may ask this movie one question, if you made Alice so bland in the first film, what makes you think I should care about her here? Not only do they make her equally uninteresting where no craps can be given when she's in a perilous situation, but now she's also an idiot as well. She's so focused on trying to save the Hatter that she became so oblivious that her actions could possibly, oh, I don't know, destroy the entirety of underwear? There's a poop or a sex joke in there somewhere, it's just that I don't know which one to use. Speaking of the Mad Hatter, that's another character the first movie fails to make him interesting. Yet he's so prominently featured because it's Johnny Depp and he's so easily marketable. It's so dependent on this to sell the movie that it has to be all about him. Because we so have to know about his origins and his family and why he's so passionate about being a Hatter, yet I still want to shout out, I don't care! As a character, he's still uninteresting because he's just Johnny Depp doing his usual shtick. Not to mention how the entire mission of the movie to make sure he's not sad makes this just pitiful.
I'll meet you when you're younger and I'm older.
I realize it doesn't make much sense.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Seriously though, if you think that's bad, you should have seen what they did with Anne Hathaway and Helena Bonham Carter's characters. Not only did they turn the Red Queen into this generic loud villain, but the film tried to give these two an origin story as well, explaining how their feud that divided underwear into an all-out war all began. Without spoiling anything, the explanation that it gave raises the question, are you freaking kidding me?! Okay, yes, I know, I've been hitting this movie pretty hard with a flamingo mallet, I know. So, I guess this should be the part where I should have some positive things to say about it, you know, just to balance this review off. And admittedly, I do have two. First off, I have to give credit to the only new character that this film offered, Time, who is the only one that feels like an actual character worth caring about. Not only is he interesting conceptually, but Sacha Baron Cohen actually delivers a pretty good performance. He's arguably the only character that actually gave a crap about his job and does try to give out some entertainment and doing his best with what he got offered. Not to mention that even his assistant Wilkins is a nice addition as a comic relief.
You will speak when you are spoken to.
He was spoken to.
Nonsense! The machine, Wilkins. How is it?
Also, like last time, the movie does try to make things up for it with some wonderful visuals. At least the best thing you could say about this is that this is 2 hours worth of eye candy. However, there is one little thing that does bother me with the visuals. In the first film, at least it looks like it's trying to be Wonderland that's both new and familiar at the same time. Here, however, there's nothing that feels like this movie has anything to do with the books. The visual artists did a phenomenal job with what they had to work with, but why did we end up in the world of Arsene Boldo paintings and the clock level from Super Mario 64? But you know what? Even if everybody didn't give a single crap while making this film, and it actually really shows, I don't necessarily blame them for it. I mean, I know everybody can do better. Even the director is actually really good at his craft when he made the recent Muppet films. But at the end of the day, did anybody really ask for a sequel to the 2010 Alice in Wonderland? Alice Through the Looking Glass is nothing more but a studio-demanded film in order to cash in on the massive success of its predecessor. Because of the atrocious writing by the same person who ruined the first film and Maleficent, The story is absolutely confusing and doesn't even know what kind of film it wants to be, and the characters are still as uninteresting as they were before. Sure, the visuals are fantastic and Sacha Baron Cohen is enjoyable, but not even those elements are enough to save the film. The only people I can imagine who would enjoy this are the major fans of the first film. But for everyone else, I'd recommend it's best if you just pass, or if you're really that curious, just rent it once. This film only gets a 4 out of 10. And with that, it's time to give it the AniMat's seal of garbage. If there's one way to best describe what's wrong with both films as an adaptation of Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass, is that it tries to put in logic in something that is illogical. It's pretty much illogical if you try to put in logic in something that has no logic. There's no logic to it. A place that has no logic must not have any logic in order for it to have any sort of logic. Otherwise, if you put in logic into something that has no logic, then you pretty much take away all sorts of logic that's already in there, thus making the illogical illogical. Sounds logical? Good. See ya later, dudes! And actually, no, I'm not gonna punish you. Okay, now before I end things off, I just want to point out something that I've recently discovered that's actually pretty mind-blowing, and it really made me think a lot and wonder. And this is something that I've recently discovered in The Art of Epic Mickey. This is actually a really awesome book, and of course, as you probably expect, this is mostly a look into many never-before-seen concept arts and a behind-the-scenes look into the making of the Epic Mickey video game. Now, some of you might be wondering, what the fridge does this have to do with Alice in Wonderland or Alice Through the Looking Glass? Well, don't you worry, don't you worry. There's something that I've really found that's actually amazing. Don't worry, there is a connection. Now, in this book, one of the pages, it actually discusses about a level that has never been used. There is this one level that they wanted to make that's based on Alice in Wonderland. And even at the opening of the Epic Mickey game, you'll find when Yen Sid is creating the world of the Wasteland, you'll find that there's actually one level that it has this small area that's based on Alice in Wonderland. In fact, it looks like the Labyrinth ride in Disneyland Paris. But with that said, ultimately, in the end, it never appeared in the game. It was pretty much deleted. Now, if I go into here, like, you'll see there is this big concept art of Mickey, and, like, he's surrounded by mushrooms and, like, the giant Cheshire Cat here. And, just taking this quote from Warren Spector, the Alice in Wonderland inspired land was cut from the game, though who knows what the future holds. The image shows how compelling this land could have been. Okay, but now here is the very fascinating part about this level. Just listen to this. All right. An area based on Disney's Alice in Wonderland was proposed. It was to be a land ruled by the Red Queen and opposed by the Mad Hatter, the White Rabbit, and the Cheshire Cat. Sadly, it was never attempted due to time constraints, but the idea survived in concept art by Jordan Lamar Wan. Fortunately, the Red Queen's card soldiers do turn up throughout the game. You see? The Red Queen dominated the area, and the Mad Hatter, the White Rabbit, and the Cheshire Cat are now opposed to her. And pretty much you have to come in as Mickey to go and probably fight against the Red Queen. Does that sound familiar to you?